welcome back to another video. We are continuing with our cab pull series today and head gasket replacement. So today I'm going to go ahead and get this engine broke down, get my heads pulled and everything, and get ready for everything to head to the machine shop. So we're going to go over every step in detail that goes into that. But real quick, we just hit 1,000 subscribers. This is awesome. You guys are awesome. I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you for watching all the videos, and I hope everybody enjoys them. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. So I'm gonna go ahead real quick before I do anything, and I want to get my bench cleaned off. This is a pretty crucial part in this job. Make sure you have a nice bench somewhere set aside, even if it is you going and grabbing you a just a pop-up table stand like that from Lowe's or something. Just something that you can organize all your parts on, lay them all out. That way you know where everything went. I'll show you how I do it. But I think I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to clean up my floor. That way I'm not tracking oil and power steering fluid all throughout the shop. So I like working in a clean environment. And then I believe I'm going to get these 40s yanked off here, because it's probably going to be a pain in the butt to try and work on this gigantic thing, because it's level with my face. So don't want to blow my back out pulling heads or anything. So I'm just going to start making my way and cleaning everything up, and then I'm going to set you up, and we're going to start going over every step that goes into tearing this engine down. So let's do it. All right, guys, so I've got my truck on some jack stands here. Try to save my back a little bit. I don't know that it really saved me a whole lot because it's still huge. But first thing I'm going to start with is we're going to get this fan off here. So if your tab is not broken, you would have a tab right here that you would pull back towards you, and this is just going to pull off. You will have a little clip right here that will go in this slot right here. So get that off there. And then over here, I've got my air hammer and my fan clutch toolkit. You do not have to go buy this. You can buy this from Advanced. I forget what I think it's a Lyle part number, something like that. I forget, but you can buy this from Advanced. It's going to be an 1 7/8, and you don't have to do it this way. For years, when I used to do these trucks, before I had a rack or anything, I did have a big, huge adjustable an adjustable crescent wrench that you can get from Harbor Freight, and you can smack it with a hammer and get it to break loose. If you choose to do it that way, go ahead. This just is going to save you a whole lot of time if you just go and buy this. It is a little pricey, but it's worth saving the time sitting there beating it. But we're going to go ahead and get it buzzed loose and get the fan off, and then we're going to move on to our fan shroud. Guys, so this is a big reason why I tell you to go get the tools I tell you to go get. I have been hammering on this with the air hammer for probably 10 minutes now. This is the tightest fan clutch that I've ever had, I've ever seen. Just was not having it. But just a little tidbit here. Whenever you do this, I have a long 10mm wrench here, flex head. And what you can do is down there on your water pump, right there, there is a 10mm bolt. There's 4 of them. If it's fighting you and it's just spinning the water pump, make sure you leave your belt on as well. But we're going to hold that with this wrench and then buzz it with the impact or the air hammer here. You can try it with the crescent wrench, but I can tell you right now, that would have took me a good portion of the day to get broke loose without the air hammer. So try not to be cheap here. Go get you a good set of tools to knock it loose. I don't think yours will be that tight. This is the tightest one I've ever seen, and I've done a ton of 6 liters. But we're going to go ahead, buzz the fan loose real quick, and get the fan shroud off. you can see just how hard I was beating on this thing to get it to break free. All galled up. It was just nuts. Never had one that tight. All right, so now that our fan is out of the way, we're going to have a 15mm bolt here, and if it still has it, yeah, which it does, right here and right here. A lot of times people will leave these loose. So we're gonna buzz those out real quick, and then you can pull your whole secondary fan shroud loose here and get it out of the way. This is why yours would probably not have it, because it always spins this nut cert out, which you don't have to put this back in if you don't want to. It really just gets in your way anyway when you need to pull that shroud. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get my belt took loose here. So right here, this is a good point I want to point out. You look on your tensioner right here, you have a little metal tab. As long as it's not broke off, you're just gonna push down, push that tab underneath the tooth, and there it is. Now you're not fighting that. And what I'll show you now is that now that that tab's in there, once you have your belt put back on the way it should go, this is if you were doing, say, a water pump in the truck or something along those lines, it's a nightmare to get down in here and get a ratchet or anything along those lines down in there, and you're just going to get mad. So what you can do is, once you have that tight and on the tooth there, you're just going to pull your belt, if it'll go without knocking over, like that. The tab will pop, and your belt will be tight, and then you can do the exact same thing whenever. Ooh. Whenever you pull this to get it broke loose, like that. It can be a pain, especially if you have a brand new tensioner like that, to get it locked in, but it can be done, and it's a lot easier than just fighting it with trying to get a breaker bar down in there, because it does not fit. If your belt's good, hang it up somewhere good. Just put her up there, out of my way, out of sight, out of mind. And now I'm gonna go ahead and get my radiator hoses off. These are should be squeeze clamps. This one's just a worm clamp. Also, while you're out here, just go ahead and get your clamp loose for your biggest bottle overflow. same thing like I told you previously. Grab and twist, get it broke free. Down here is a little different on your radiator hose. Just grab it the best you can. And you're just gonna have to sit here and play with it. If it won't go, mine's probably not gonna go by twisting it. I'm gonna get me a kind of like just a screwdriver. I've got a pick that can go around and break the seal around my front cover there, and then it'll come loose. All right, guys, so some of the stuff that I want to touch on real quick is the stuff you're seeing me do. You do not have to take off all of this stuff. I'm going to be pulling this engine out and doing a full reseal on it. Oil pan's leaking pretty bad. I believe the rear cover gasket is leaking. So some of the stuff you see me take off, you don't have to. The biggest things that we're going to focus on is really going to be a wiring harness, exhaust manifolds. I'll show you draining coolant. Up pipes need to come off here. You can see just how much coolant this thing was pouring out of the our up pipes here, leaking out of the down pipe there. You can see all the dried up coolant residue. This is after I cleaned it, went through it and everything, drove it to find the leak. But I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you what to take off to do a head gasket job. And then I'm going to make a separate video on engine removal and stuff like that. So you're just going to see me in this video to take off the things that I need to take off to get the cylinder heads off the truck into the machine shop. And whatever you do from that point is up to you. You will see me do the majority of everything that needs to be fixed on one of these when I have the engine out. But good pointer right now is, if you want to, go get you a new thermostat. These things are bad about sticking. Ford only on these, unless you want to run a low temp one. I get them from Mishimoto. Water pump, I believe this one is leaking, so I'm going to be replacing it. Good time to go ahead and change yours. Pull it out, take a look at it. 9 times out of 10 they're messed up. You can put a metal impeller one on it if you want. The impeller in the stock Ford ones are plastic, but if the bearing goes bad in the metal impeller one, it will eat the front cover, whereas the plastic one will not. So just a good little point of information there. You do what you want with that. That goes for the bulletproof diesel ones. They will eat front covers if the bearings go bad. I actually think that this one is a bulletproof diesel one. Yeah, you can see the numbers in there. Yep. So got one leaking. Maybe we'll get it warranted. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show you the stuff that needs to come off, is a necessity to come off to get heads off. And then I'll make a separate video on pulling engine and doing all the other stuff that does not go into a typical head gasket job. So I'm going to start by getting my intake horn off. This one's got a bank system on it, so yours will have some 8mm bolts down here if it's an 05 up truck. 03 to 04 and a half will have some Allen heads. I think they're 3/16. Just be careful in this area. Don't want to drop anything in the engine. So we're going to have a 10mm nut on the back here. We're going to take loose. Just buzz it loose. Don't drop it. We're going to put it right back on the alternator here. So, take your wiring harness loose and just put your nut right back on the alternator, like so. And then, because that clip can kind of be a pain in the butt, I like to just go ahead and get my 13mm here. Go ahead and leave your bolts in the alternator, they'll go with it. We'll pick it up here, and then on our plug back here, just because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get your finger back there against all this crap, and then just leave all your bolts and everything in the alternator and set it off to the side. So right here on your heater cord neck that goes into the front cover, what I like to do is, since these kind of can leak. I'm going to replace it anyway, but just for the video's sake, we're just going to take this 8 mil, buzz it loose. I'm going to take my handy dandy pliers here, grab it, and bend this tab. It will bend right back up. Just got to get under it. There you go. Now this is out of the way, and when we pull our intake manifold, it's not going to get caught, and you won't have to take this completely out. Just go ahead and put your bolt right back where it was at. This just makes your life that much easier instead of having a pile of bolts to sift through. Now, go ahead and get you a set of panel poppers. We're just going to bump our glow plug harness. We're going to be changing these anyway, so no big deal. Go ahead and get all your tabs off of here, like so. Like so. Go ahead and at this point you can unplug this, like so, get it out of the way. We'll pull those out later. And now we're going to get our trans dipstick out of the way here. This is going to have a 10 millimeter nut on it. Mine pulled the valve cover stud out. I'd say we're probably going to be helicoiling a whole lot of rocker box gaskets on this. So just get it out. I like to just set it back here on the frame, like so. Now we can go ahead and pop our harness loose here. Our glow plug pins are pulling out, so we'll have to figure something out on fixing that. I'll have to go through this harness. So just pay attention to all your plugs, change pigtails as you need. Unplug our ICP. Looks like you should potentially getting an ICP. And now you can fold this over like this and set it off to the side. Get this out of the way so y'all can see. All right. Now take your 10 millimeter. And we're missing all sorts of studs here. That's why right there, because I dropped one. So these will not be going back on. So make sure when you do this job, go ahead and go get you a nice big old magnet tray, and that way you can set stuff off in it and you ain't got to worry about it. Back behind here. You watch my glow plug video, you'll remember I spoke about these getting kind of bent up and kind of being a pain in the butt to get off, like this one. So I'll see what I can do about that. But get your glow plug module off, get it out of the way, set it on your bench. I'm going to take my passenger side fuel line here, and I'm going to get it out of the way just because I'm right here and this is where my camera's positioned. So these are going to be 17 millimeter banjo bolts. You don't have to get new coppers, but would suggest it. Just take it loose. Get you a 10 millimeter. We're going to take this bolt right here loose. Like so. And then right here, I've already busted mine loose, but get you an adjustable wrench and just pop it loose. You're going to leak some fuel here. Let it drain. Once you're drained, I like to go ahead and just get this completely loose up here. Get your bolt out. And then if you're going to reuse your coppers here, just be careful. Make sure you catch your one when you pull it off. Like so. Then I like to just put this copper right back on my bolt here and set it in my magnet tray. And then I'm going to pull this out. This can be done. It's just kind of more of a pain in your butt than anything. So just make your life easier. Get you a 15 millimeter and buzz that pulley off. And now it'll pop right out, just like so. We'll set that on the bench and get it out of the way. Moving on to the back here, I'm just kind of making my way around here. There's no real hardcore specific order to all this stuff. This is just the way that I do it. So I'm gonna get my down pipe out of the way and get my up pipes off so my turbo can get out of here. I like to bring that nut out right to the very edge. That way I can get my little T-clamp loose. Do not take this nut off all the way. Same thing right here. Just like that. Now I got my air hammer, just with a chisel bit. Don't be crazy with this. I'm just gonna kind of bump it like that. And we're loose. On this one, you can just put it up against the hot side housing. Just don't be crazy with it. We just want to vibrate it. Just like that. And then we can just try not to get in your way here. Just like that. Yours will probably come off a lot easier. All right, so now that we're broke free, we're actually still not broke free, probably from all the coolant. There we go. All right. Now just hold this, back this off, and what you can do is squeeze and bend your tab up out of the way like so. And just put that on the charger, and then this can come out of the way like so. You can just leave this here if you want. You can unbolt it down there, but more likely those bolts aren't going to come out. Same thing here. Bend, and we're going to fold it up on the turbo like that. Now we're going to move down to our bolts down here. I highly suggest that you put some heat on these if they've never been off before. Your top's going to be a 10 millimeter and your bottom's going to be a 13 millimeter. I like to just use a wrench or ratchet on these because they do like to break and galled up. So I got my 10 and my 13 wrench. I'm just going to slowly start doing my thing here. I highly suggest that if yours do not break, that you get some new ones because they are usually pretty rough. Like so. So I'm just going to put my nut back on there. Set it right here for the time being. You can go ahead and set those in your bolt bin. On my other side now. Kind of self-explanatory. All right, and now we can just go ahead and pull back and pull our up pipes out of here. We got a decent amount of rust built up in there from water. Alrighty, so now you can get your clamps, and I like to just take them off, get them out of my way, like so. Set them on my bench. So while I'm back here and got the camera still here, there's a bolt, 10mm bolt right here that we want to take loose on the turbo pedestal if yours still has it. If not, no big deal. I usually don't ever even put these back in. They're just going to make your life a million times harder if you ever have to change your turbo by yourself. This thing is just a nightmare to get broke loose and get something back behind when the cab's still on the engine. So I like to just take this and throw it away. The other two are plenty to hold the charger. So just leave that one out. If you want, you don't have to, just the way that I do it. What'll happen is a lot of times, like if you put this back in and it actually survives a long time, and you have to change turbo, if this gets galled up, you can't really get heat back here without burning up some stuff like your IPR pigtail or anything like that. And what'll happen is you'll round this head off, or it'll just break, something along those lines, and it just makes life more difficult than it needs to be back here. So just take it and throw it away. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my FICM pulled. You're going to have 2 10s and 2 8s, 8s in the back. Well, depending, this is these can change quite a bit through the years. Sometimes it's got miscellaneous hardware like this, which is okay. You can go get the actual nice nuts from Ford. They sell these, and they have actual dowel locating sections that center the FICM instead of doing some jank stuff like that. So get our bracket off here and put it in our tray. And get our 10mm nuts loose. Just gonna buzz those kind of loose and take them off by hand so I don't lose them. Not because we're going to reuse it, because I don't want to drop anything down the engine because my hole's right here. Just go ahead and toss these in the trash. All right, now we're just going to pull our FICM up, and here's your tabs. We're just going to squeeze, pull, squeeze, and pull. Just like so. Just like that. Set this somewhere it won't get wet or anything like that. Now is a good time if your tabs are broken. So if these 2 pigtails right here, if they just fell out, you didn't have to squeeze any tabs on the side to get them to pop out of the FICM. It is time for an injector harness. Go get it from Ford. Don't get it from anywhere else. Because what will happen is your truck will be running, and these can fall out while the truck's running, just the vibrations of the engine, and then your truck will sit there and run like crap, loose cylinders, be hard to diag, if you try to do it yourself. So just, if the clips are broke, go get you a new harness. They're not crazy expensive. Unplug my EVP sensor here, get it out the way, and then we can go ahead and get ourselves a 10mm, buzz your nut for your EVP off, like so, and then get this tab and just kind of bend it out the way and put your nut back on the bracket there, and then get your 10 mils loose. If it pulls the valve cover bolt out, that's okay, it happens. That one's actually going to come off. You can't really mess these up too much. Where your nuts at is where your EVP is going to be. So just pay attention to where you put these. See, mine are pulling my valve cover studs out. That's okay. We'll just take them loose on the bench. I'm going to start working on my fuel bowl now. I want to go ahead and now is a good time to drain oil. Go ahead and get this filter popped loose and let your filter reservoir drain because it will be full of oil. Like so. Just let it pop all the way up like that and it will start draining. And while it drains, we're going to go ahead and start on our brackets here. Or not brackets, sorry, I'm having a brain fart here today. We're going to start on all our nuts for our fuel bowl here. If these get stuck on you, so like if I go to break this free and it spins the nut cert, like that, I like to just give them a smack. Usually they break loose. But if this one right here that's into the actual regulator here spins, get you another adjustable. This is one I've got from Snap-on. It works perfect because it's got these beveled teeth. And just get it and hold it so it doesn't spin, because what'll happen is you'll spin that and get mad and you'll kink this line. So don't do that because that line is expensive. So make sure you've got some zip ties set on this like so. On all your lines, because what will happen is your nut will fall down and you'll lose it and you'll be fishing it out. So just like that, set it off. And then on our next one, I like to take this one that's bent right here that comes down. It has a banjo bolt. I like to take it loose so I can get on the one right underneath it. It's going to be a 19mm nut. So we'll take it loose and then we'll move on to the other one. Got my 19mm wrench here. Just gonna grab it there. Just like that. Same thing like we went over on the banjo bolt over there. Just get this spun out like so and make sure you put a finger underneath there to catch your copper washer. And get this out the way and you can just pull it out like so. There's my copper. If you lose them, go get you a new set. I'm going to replace these anyway. So just put that back on there. And we're going to go put it in our tray. And now I have a lot more room to get on my other one down here. Like I said, I like to just give it a quick jerk. And 9 times out of 10, that'll get her to pop loose without spinning the nut cert. I'll just go ahead and spin that loose. You will need to get O-rings for all these now that you've got it popped loose. Once again, forward. And now, while that's all doing its thing here, we're going to go ahead and grab our coolant temp sensor, take it loose. And if yours would have an EGR valve, you would take that one loose. That would be right here. And then we have intake air temp. We're going to get out of the way there. And now we've got a good section of wiring out of the way. And we can kind of start messing with our bowl here. So you can, at this point, go ahead. I like to just leave this one on, and then I'll change it whenever I put everything back together. You will need to do a full service on this now that you do this job, obviously. So you can just go ahead and toss all your filters and everything. Okay. Now to get your bowl out, you're going to need a T45 Torx, like a long one with a wobble extension. And you're going to have 4 of these. Alright, so now that's all loose, just for room to get it out, I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to pull my turbo feed line off. The two top ones are going to be 10 millimeter. I like to just hold on to these. And we're just going to put them back in the turbo. 210s loose. Down here on your actual oil cooler, you're going to have an 8 millimeter bolt. You can see it down there next to one of the sensors. Just follow the line. And I like to put a finger on it and pull it out because it's kind of hard to get your hand down in there. And now we can just take this, and this can kind of be a pain depending on, you know, how often it's been pulled out. I like to just sit here and just rock it as much as I possibly can, and it will pop out. Sometimes I have had these be a real pain in the butt to get out. So just a heads up, you might be fighting this. Go ahead and put your two top bolts back in the turbo here. Like so. And then we have an oil temp sensor down here that we're gonna have to take loose just so we can get the bowl out. And now that all your wiring's out of the way, pull your bowl straight up and out. All right, so now that that's out of the way, we can go ahead and in here we're gonna have a bunch of sensors we're gonna want to take loose. This is a good oil leak area. Your oil temp sensor right here, or oil pressure sensor, this is the one that's a single wire pigtail. The sensor likes to go bad a lot and it will pour oil out of that top of that sensor. Mine is doing that, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change it. I'm going to move over there and pop my VGT pigtail loose. Depending on the style, it can have these tiny little clips. Just be very careful with them. I have not found a good way to really get them completely loose without breaking them, but it can be done. Just take your time, don't rush. Pop that loose. Like so. You can get it out the way like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my turbo out of the way. We're going to have two 10 millimeter bolts on the side right here. So right between the housing that actually bolts it to the pedestal. They can be tight. A long wrench will make your life a little bit easier. All right, so there's one. Now, same thing over here. These feel like they want to break. Make sure that you put heat on them. You do not want them to break in that turbo housing, because then you're just gonna cause yourself a lot of heartache trying to get them out. So heat is your friend when it comes to that stuff. I have had them break. Just like that. Now we got both of them out. So make sure that all your wiring's out of the way, and I like to just grab it and rock it, and it'll come up just like that. Now I'm just going to kind of gradually work a little bit on my wiring here and getting it ready to get out of my way. So I'm going to start with getting the globe plug harness on this side out of the way. Just like that. Same thing up top here. Pop it loose. Fold it up underneath like so. And now what I like to do is I'm going to get my oil dipstick and get it out of the way. A 10 mil right there, we're going to buzz off. Sorry, mine wanted to get stuck a little bit here. Set that off in your tray. And then we can go ahead and pull this off like so. And then down low here, you just want to kind of rock it. It can be a pain in the butt. Kind of the same deal with your sorry, what was I gonna say? Kind of the same deal as your feed tube on your turbo here. Fold your EBP out of the way. You can just pulled it, and you can see that this has been leaking pretty good as well. O-ring's probably shot. You will need to get one for this. All right, so now we've just kind of got a little bit more room here. Got our harnesses up out of the way. And now I'm going to, where'd my ratchet go? I put it over there. I'm gonna go ahead and buzz this 10 loose on this bracket. And I'm just gonna put it right back where it was at. Like so. And now you can kind of, a lot of times you can get it. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but we're just gonna go ahead for ease sakes. And we're going to take these H6 Allens out and pull this bracket off completely. All right, make sure you get your Allen key. This is an H6. And I want to make sure that I've got it completely engaged inside that bolt so I don't strip it. Just like that. And next. I broke my ratchet. Just like that. And now you can set this off to the side. And now these will just go ahead and pull right on out. Just pay attention to your orientation on them. And you can just kind of set them up out of the way like so. And now we're going to get our 17mm wrench and we're going to take this head feed line off. A 17mm wrench. I'm just going to bump her loose there. We'll lose some fuel here. And like I said before, just if you're not replacing your coppers and you want to try and keep them, just get your finger back in there the best you can to catch the secondary copper. I do recommend changing these. like so. Now you can pull your banjo bolt out and your line. I'm gonna work on getting my AC compressor out of here, just out of the way here. You're gonna have a 15mm nut down here to take your harness loose. I find that it makes my life a little bit easier to get it out of the way, because your hand's gonna be a little tight. Like so. And you can pull your harness loose right there and get your 15mm again. And there is your nut cert for your ground strap down there, ground cable. So just pull your ground cable out of the way, tuck it out the way down there, and then I'll just leave this out for right now and set it on my bench. And now I'm gonna start getting my bolts loose. You're gonna have 3 bolts, one in the back. So you'll have one here, one 10mm there, one right directly below it, and then directly back underneath it, there's going to be a 13mm. The 13mm does suck, so we're going to take it loose first and then get our 10s loose. So I actually like to go ahead and take my bottom 10mm loose. That way I got just a little bit more room to swing my wrench down at the bottom there, because it will kind of hang up on you on that 10. All right. These are going to be pretty long. You will have to leave the 13mm in the back. Is going to have to stay with the compressor when you put it back in. You can always, if you want, jack this engine up and get it out that way. But I'm trying to show you the best I can just how to do this. This one, even the front one here, is tight. So there's your bolt. And then we're going to go ahead and get the 13mm directly behind it out. All this has to be done with a wrench, which really sucks. Like so. It is just a pain. I'm sorry, but it's got to come out so we can get to our harness back here. So what you could technically do at this point was, if you wanted to, you could pull the whole engine harness and fold it over this direction and let it hang down in front. But this is the way that I'm going to show you to do it, because I am pulling the engine. So I need to pull my compressor off so I can fold my harness that direction and get it completely off. So you don't have to take this off if you don't want to. What you could do is you could just fold the whole engine harness towards you if you're facing the front of the truck. It might make your life a little easier. This is just how I'm going to do it, because I am pulling the engine. So hopefully try to help people doing engine pulls and everything all in one video if I can. Once I have that loose, and it's not going to come, it will not come out right now. Just leave it loose down there. Just going to get this 10, and we're going to get it broke loose. All right. Now you can go ahead and I like to go ahead and move that, and then it makes this one a little bit easier to pop loose like that. You will have a lock on this one that needs to pull down. And then this one I have found works best to get a flathead screwdriver and just kind of be easy with it. Don't want to break it. And we just want to pry it up like so, and it'll pop right out. Don't lose your rubber. All right. Oh, sorry. And now we can continue here. So now my 13, now that I got my AC compressor cockside with, my 13mm will come loose. And now pop this out of my way and just take my 10mm loose the rest of the way here, like so. Like that. And now you can go over here, and all your AC lines are going to come with it. I like to just leave them attached. Grab a hold of it and rock her on out of there. Oh, sorry. And right out. And now that that's out the way, you'll look directly back here. You'll have a little tab, and then here is your crank sensor. Voila, just like that. Now I can fold my whole harness out of the way. Now what I can do is I can just take my harness here, take everything down there, take it and fold it like so. So what I was saying before is if you did not want to take your AC compressor out, what you could do is you could just basically take this harness, if it was routed like that, and just pick it up right here and fold it like so out of the way, and it would rest down here. Like I said, just for my sake, I'm pulling engine, so I needed it out of my way. So now I'm just gonna come over here with it, and there's gonna be one more pigtail holding it on. I'm just gonna reach down in there and pop her loose if I can get my hand down in there. But I'll take it loose, and now I can get my whole engine harness here and get it out of my way if you choose to do it that way. So just a little point of information there, and then we're going to move on to our injector harness. So like I said, I've got my whole engine harness just sit off to the side there. I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to go completely through it, relume it, change any pigtails that need to be changed. So now let's move on to our injector harness. I'm just going to I can't speak either. I'm going to show you a quick little tip here to get your pigtails loose. So right here, what I like to do on these is you're going to take either, I have a little pick for this that I use, but you're just going to take your screwdriver, you're going to push that tab in, and when you push that tab in, pull this directly up, and you can rock it a little bit and it'll pop off. Like I said, if any of these are broken, replace them. You will have a couple push pins or little wire ties holding this on your valve cover studs, as well as intake manifold studs. right. Now you're going to have a little ground cable right here that holds, this is the ground for the injector harness. You want to make sure that it gets put back on. I have seen issues with it not being there. Normally you would have a nut right here that holds this on, and then your intake manifold stud. Either way you want to do it's fine. 9 times out of 10 when you take this nut off this, it's not going to come loose. It's going to break the actual intake manifold bolt loose, and you're going to spin and rip this ground out of the harness. So just go ahead and get that out the way. Just like that. Just set it back in loosely. And now we can pull our whole injector harness and get it out of here. Same thing on that applies. If you notice any broken pigtails, if when you pulled your FICM off, if the tabs are broken, they just fell out, go to Ford, get you a new one. Can't stress that enough. You definitely want to tackle the easiest things that you can right now, that the cab's in the air, than having to worry about it when the cab is set back down. You're wishing you replaced the stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my intake manifold out of my way. These will all be 10 millimeters. Pay attention to where your studs, you will have some that are just bolt heads and some that are studs. Pay attention to where they are located. They're there for a reason. Okay, so at this point, if you had an EGR cooler still on your truck, you would go ahead and bump. We're going to do this anyway because I'm going to separate the weight reduction kit from this actual intake manifold. So what you would do now is take these 2 tins loose, and then you would have a V-band clamp down here on your up pipe. You're going to take it loose, and then you can knock the EGR cooler down and it will pop out of the intake manifold, and then you can just pull your intake manifold out of here. But we don't have one, so we're just going to go ahead and bump these bolts out. That one wasn't even tight. Then you can take you a pry bar or something along those lines and get it on out of there. Like that. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and just pull all my bolts out so they're not getting caught on anything. And then before we pull this intake manifold off, it's a good idea to just clean around it. Mine's pretty clean, so we're good. But just blow it out, chop air. Don't want to have to worry about anything falling down. Even though you're pulling the heads, it won't really matter, but just one less thing you get to chase. just pull this like so and get it out of here. All right, these are just going to go ahead and we're just going to take them, get them put in the trash. Will be not be reused. You can reuse these if you choose. I never have, and I would prefer not to. But you do what you want. All right, so now that that's out of the way, you can go ahead and you can leave all this stuff in the valley if you choose. We will not be doing that. I'm going to be resealing our high pressure pump here. I'm going to be redoing and putting a new oil cooler in this, as well as new turbo gaskets. When I do this job, I touch everything. So if your pocketbook doesn't want to allow that, you can leave all this stuff in the valley at this point if you choose. And so that's the way that I'm going to portray it here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start on my valve covers, get them out of here, and get everything pulled to be ready for head removal. And while we're on the subject of the intake manifold coming off, this O-ring right here will 100% have to be replaced. I don't care if it still has a lip on it or anything. Go get you a new one from Ford. This one's nice and flat, so we'll get us a new one. All right, so right quick, I just wanted to extend and touch on the stuff in the valley. I highly recommend you put a new oil cooler in it from Ford. Make sure you go back and if you need instructions on doing an oil cooler job, go back, watch my other video. I have a very detailed video on a full oil cooler rebuild with part numbers and everything in there. So go back, watch that video. It'll help you out on that. And then I highly recommend that if you know if you don't know for a fact that the truck has had an updated STC fitting put on the high pressure oil pump, I highly suggest you go ahead and go get one of those. They're very cheap. You know, go grab you one of those, pull the pump out, fix it, reseal it. And another thing is those covers are super bad about leaking. You can see just how bad this one has been leaking. Back here, it's leaking right there. So I highly recommend that you go ahead and do that as well. I mean, I know it costs a decent amount of money to do that stuff, but you're already here, so you might as well do it. But we're going to go ahead and move on now out of the valley, and I'm going to move on to pulling my exhaust manifolds off. These are 10 millimeters. If you're in northern states, I highly recommend that you heat these up. They will break off in the head. Get them out, pull it off, and then we're going to move on to pulling the starter and valve covers and everything under the valve covers, and then I'm going to show you how to drain the block of the coolant before we pull the head so you don't make a mess on the floor. All right, so on my lower bolts, I like to just go in from like right here and then also from right here. Makes it a little easier. Can't really get a ratchet. You can get it under there, but you can't really get a good swing on it. So that's where I like to go in at. A swivel socket will make your life a little bit easier. Don't drop these. I like to just leave them with the manifold. If yours is rusty, I suggest replacing it. Not just rusty like this, surface rust, but like actually corrode it. So if your truck has never been taken apart, it's not going to have this metal gasket. You will need to go ahead and I like to surface my exhaust manifolds just so they're true. And go get me a new MLS gasket there. Get it from Ford. You can get pretty much, you can get everything from Ford to do this job. And that's where everything will be coming from for this truck. Just set it aside. You can, if you choose, you can go ahead and you leave these with the head if you want to. But I like to get them out of the way because I'm gonna pull starter, and then there is a plug back here to drain coolant out of the block, and that'll save us from making a god-awful mess of coolant when we pull the cylinder head. Same thing over here, but I find that going in this direction, I can get all the lower bolts except for this front one, and the front one you can get just up front, going in this direction, so no big deal there. You can go ahead and just leave your exhaust back pressure sensor in the manifold. Okay then. We're gonna move on to our starter here. You're gonna have I think it's 16. Yeah, 16 millimeter nut holding on your hot side cable, and then a 10 millimeter directly below it for your trigger wire. So we're gonna take these off. Make sure you grab hold of these and just put them right back on the starter solenoid here. Don't want to misplace them. Nut back on there, and then we'll go ahead and swap over to our 10. You're going to be very careful he-manning this, because you will break the stud out of the starter solenoid there, and then you'll be buying a starter. So just a heads up on that one. This bottom one will have a washer come with it. Just put everything right back on where it was at. Now we can just get this out the way. Just kind of tuck it down by the oil pan there. And then now you're going to have 3 13 millimeter bolts holding your starter on. One down here that goes this direction, and then 2 that go this direction. The one up top you will need a long extension for, probably about a 6-inch or so. And I like to just go ahead and get my top one taken out first. That way the starter's not trying to walk on me anywhere. That wasn't even tight. I do like to kind of put a little bit of Loctite on these. Not a whole hell of a lot, but you know, a decent amount. That didn't make any sense, did it? Just a little dab. A little dab will do you. Because they do back out, as you can tell by this one, where the bolts were not even tight. All right. Leave that one in a couple threads so we can get this one loose. Well, I caught a hard spot there. dokey. And then pull your starter out. Now is a good time if you so choose. If you want to upgrade to like a 6.4 starter, now's a good time to do it because it's a lot less of a pain in the butt to change it like this than it is under the truck. I like to just go ahead and put my bolts right back with the starter. One hole will be threaded, 2 will not. So just set them in there and set them where they're not going to get kicked or anything and get lost. So this next part's pretty important. Right here. Sorry, I'm trying to show you this I can. Right here is an H8 8mm Allen head plug. That is going to be your block drain. You're going to have one on both sides there. And the reason I pop these out is because I want to be able to drain the block of coolant, because what will happen is when we pull this head, it's going to just absolutely dump coolant on the ground. You're going to get about a gallon or so out of both sides. But I just want to show you real quick before you do anything with that. You need to get your Allen, and when you put your Allen key in this hole, if I can get it to go. All right, so right now it's barely in there, barely engaged, and what'll happen is you'll think you got it in there, you'll go to break it loose and you'll round it off. Make sure that Allen key goes up in there and you have a good bite on it, because if you don't, you will strip it out, and it's not going to be fun to get out. And then here is your one on the driver's side. It's a little bit farther back, but no big deal. These are going to be very tight, by the way. So still made a god-awful mess on the ground anyway. I guess my bucket placement wasn't the best. But also just wanted to show you this stuff right here, this pig mat that you can get from Safety Clean. Top of the line stuff, people. We're just gonna grab us a sheet since we made a lovely mess. Set it down there, and it just immediately starts soaking it up. Good stuff. I suggest when you do this job, you might as well just go grab you some of this. You can, it's a little expensive, but it does an amazing job. You're not going to be able to catch everything off the ground, so go get you some of this stuff. It's pretty good. See if we can do a better job with our bucket placement this time. Probably not, but hey, we'll give her the old college try, won't we? Oh, the drive shaft. What a bastard. So on the subject of bucket placement, we suck. Whenever these are done draining, I like to just go ahead and make sure my O-ring is still good. And I'll lube it up and I'll put it right back in the hole there and tighten it up and we'll be done with that. But I do put these right back in, that way I don't forget them. While we're on the subject of making messes, as you can see, I've got coolant everywhere. It decided to come down and hit the front drive shaft and just make a geyser in like 8 different directions. So you'll have that, but tell you right now, a bucket and a mop is your best friend on this job.
Bring a bucket and a mop!
Like trudging through coolant and oil, go get you one. That's my favorite tool in the world right there. So, little tidbit information. It's finally time to move on to valve covers and valve train. We're going to take all our valve cover bolts out here. They're 12 millimeter. If you're not fond with these, just pay attention to where your studs are located. You'll have yours for the glow plug module here, 2 to hold the injector harness tabs, and 1 right here for your transmission dipstick. And we'll go over the other side when we get over there. So just pay attention to these if you just put them in a bin. Oof. That one's going to be getting helicoiled. Now is the time to pay attention when these valve cover bolts are stripped out and they're pulling the aluminum threads out of the rocker box. It's time to go and get you a set of helicoils and tap these because what will happen is your valve cover will leak. Go ahead and as of right now, we got 2 on this side we'll do. Pull your valve cover off. Just like so. Go ahead and get your valve cover gasket off. We're going to go ahead and replace these. You don't have to, but you're already here. Why not? And now we're going to move on to our dummy plugs and standpipes. You can leave your dummy plug in the hole if you choose. I like to go ahead, pull them out, inspect them, and replace them if need be. These are going to be an H12 Allen. If yours have not been updated, these have been an updated part from Ford for a very long time. If these are H10s, so an H10 Allen, they are not updated. The updated style is H12, and I will let you know right now that the Ford standpipes have a very big problem right now because they changed O-ring manufacturer. And what will happen is I had a bunch of these come back on me. Never had a problem for years. Come back, when you pull this first section of the standpipe out, the O-ring that presses into the secondary part of the standpipe will be ripped. The fix for that is Alliant Power O-rings. So Ford standpipes, and then go ahead and purchase you a pack of the Alliant O-ring kit and change these out, because what will happen is you go get these from Ford, in a week's time, I'm telling you, your truck will have a hot no start. We will go over torque specs on everything when we go back together, which will be a separate video. go ahead and get me a rag, because these are going to make a little bit of a mess when you pull them out. Be very careful as well. Don't go just grabbing this and twisting, because if it catches a hard spot, these threads are extremely sharp. Ask me how I know. So just pull these out, and while you're here, give them the old inspecty job. And what we'll do is, if these are good, which they are, we'll go ahead, we'll lube them up, and we'll put them back in. These O-rings are good. And now, pull this one out, let it drain for a minute. Clean her off. So I already did injectors on this truck, and I updated all this stuff when I was in here. So this one already has the Alliant Power O-rings, but this O-ring right here is the one that always rips. And if it's, I mean, if you see any debris whatsoever on it, like it'll look like chewed up rubber, you need to order that kit. I highly, even if they look good, I suggest you order a set of Alliant Power O-rings and change these out. You do not want to have to go back in here. So we'll set these off to the side here. And then we're going to switch over to our T30 Torx bit. And we're going to take all of our oil rail bolts out here. This is another point of paying attention. Well, really all this is, you need to pay attention, but on your bits, your Torx bits here, you want to be very careful. Do not strip them out. I've had them rounded off, and it's just a nightmare to get them out. Make sure, just like on all the Allen keys I've been showing you, make sure you got a good bite. So not the Torx bit barely being engaged is just going to round them off. Make sure it's pressed in nice and good. Go ahead and pull all these out. Be very careful, we don't want to drop any. They won't really go anywhere, but there's a chance that they could. I like to just set them off in my tray, like so. And then now you can just take you like a screwdriver or something, just kind of barely get right back behind here and just pry out. And you're gonna get the nipple cups broke loose on the oil rail there out of your injectors. And then what we're gonna do now is we're just going to, well actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clear my table off, and I'm gonna set some pig mat down on my table because this will kind of leak. But first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna rock it side to side and pull straight out. And do not pull this out of the valve cover yet. Just go up with it and hold it right there. As you can see, we're draining a ton of oil. So if you just yank this off, you're gonna make a hell of a mess on the ground. So let's just hang out here for a little bit, let it drain, and then we'll go ahead and we'll set it over on the bench. Like I said, get you some towels down and everything. Now's a good time to set everything out, get your bench cleaned off, because we're going to line up all of our injectors. Hole doesn't really matter on injectors. You can label them if you choose. But I do like to remember where my valve bridges were at and everything, and push rods. We're going to see now if the previous shop put 6.4 push rods in this engine whenever they did it last. So now what we're going to do is start pulling our injectors. Got myself a 19mm socket here. We're going to go up here on top on our tabs, and you'll see the tabs. I want the flat spot of the socket just to grab the teeth. They do make a tool for this if you want to buy it. I've just done it like this for years. Just be very careful. You don't want to break your connections there. I might not got that. I don't think I got that one. Yeah. You'll hear it pop, hit the socket, hear the socket hit the rocker box. Like so, you'll know you got it. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to push down and pull out. Don't be Hercules with the wires there, and just bend them up out of the rocker box like so. And now we're going to touch on our injectors. So if you have 05 model truck, 03 to 04.5 will all be T40. I'm touching on this with the theory in mind that your truck has not been taken apart, had an engine put in it, whatever it may be. So 03 to 04 are going to be T40 Torx bits holding your injector in. And these are different. They cannot interchange. In late model, so 05 to 07 will be T45. I have seen 05s, kind of later model 05s and early 06s still have T40s. But, you know, we don't know if it had an engine or whatever it may be. So we're going to buzz these loose. I like to keep the holders with the injector, and then we're just going to put them over on the bench with our oil rail. So this truck is an 05 model truck, and it does have T40 Torx hold downs. So same thing here. Make sure you got a good bite. The injector hold down will pull the injector up out of the hole with it. Obviously, everything we're pulling off will need to be re-O-ringed, everything. Do not reuse any O-rings. You know, I did on the block plugs down there because they look good. That's not really a super big deal, but this stuff up here, everything you need to go get O-rings for. All your standpipes, your injectors here, go get you injector O-ring kits from Ford. They're not crazy expensive. They have to be done. I feel like most of y'all probably know that though. I do like to just leave the remainder of my standpipe in the hole there until I get the rocker box off, because what'll happen is you can't grab this except for like with the pair of needle nose, and you'll just mar up the inside of that hole, and it'll just rip the O-ring when you go back in with it. So now we're going to pull injectors here, and I'm just going to go over to the bench and put them with my oil rail, my corresponding oil rail. Take your hold downs with it. Just like so. All right, so now we are ready to go ahead and we'll get our glow plugs pulled out of here and our harness. What I like to do now is, if you look down in here, instead of trying to just yank these out and fighting them, look down in there, and there's a little step. I'm going to show you a little close-up on that one because I didn't get to show that in my glow plug video. I like to just stick a pry bar. This is what I was talking about with pulling valve covers and everything. If these break off and you're sitting here fighting them, trying to drill screws in them, they're just not coming out, I'm gonna show you how to pop those out without making a disaster of everything. All right, guys, so I'm gonna try to film this just the best I can. So if you look down in here, there's our glow plug, and you can't really see it, but you can see the plastic just above it for the glow plug harness. And if you look at that little step, sorry, I'm trying to focus, this little step to the left hand, right directly next to the glow plug. So I'm gonna put the flashlight in my mouth and show you how I do this. Got a light on it with my indexing power there. I'm just gonna try back, just like that. And voila. Look how easy that was. Isn't that better than drilling self-tapping screws into it? So now we can just do that on all our sides. And I do recommend you replace these harnesses because they like to leak. And I also suggest you go ahead and change your glow plugs while you're here. But this is just a little indexing pry bar that I've got from Snap-on. They are a little pricey, but man, they are a lifesaver. This is one of those things that I know, I try not to push the Snap-on stuff too hard on you because I know a lot of it isn't what they claim. But man, these things right here are the bee's knees. At this point, we can go ahead. You could leave your glow plugs in if you want, but we're going to pull them and change them. These are 10mm. I don't know if I stated that yet or not. Now we are ready to go ahead and get our rocker box pulled. So what we're going to do is we're going to start buzzing all of our head bolts or studs loose. As you can see, this truck's already been studded, like I've stated a bunch of times. We're going to get all these out, and what we're going to do is we've got 1, 2, this truck just has 2. This kind of does change a lot, but you will have some 10mm rocker box bolts that hold the rocker box on. I like to leave my valve train just hooked up still in the rocker box. So don't take any of your valve train out, just leave it hooked up to the rocker box. And when you're pulling it, you'll see me shimmy it a little bit. I just want to break the contact patch off the valve bridges here in the push rods. So I also just wanted to state real quick that I'm just going to do this side on the video. It is the exact same process on the other side, just for time sakes and everything, so this video isn't super long and you're watching me do the same repetitive thing. So I'm just going to focus on this side because I got a good view on it right now, and then just repeat the exact same process on the other side. So we're just going to go ahead and see it all the way through, get our head off and everything, and you'll just repeat the same process on the other side. So your studs are going to be an 11/16. Your head bolts will be like a 18mm, I believe. I like to use a bar on the studs because we do not know if we're going to reuse these. We're going to let Randy check them out at the machine shop, see if they're still within spec. You do want to check these. The black ARP studs, they do have a limit on how many times you can torque them. I know some people just use them as many times as they want, but I do want to check these and make sure that they are still within spec. And if they're not, we'll get a new set of studs. 625 studs, if you want to bump up to those, they're very expensive. They do have a little bit more clamping load, but I don't recommend them unless you're going to maybe go upwards towards the 900 to 1,000 horsepower range. So I don't want to use an impact, just want to use a breaker bar because I don't want to strip any of these out. And if you've got a head bolts, get them out and throw them away. They are not reusable. And another thing I want to touch on real quick is I'm going to go kind of in the same exact order that I would torque this head down, pulling it back off. I just don't want to put any unnecessary preload on it. So I'm going to take this one loose, and then you'll see me work my way you know, out. So start in the middle, bump it loose. Once you got them broke loose, you can go get a gun and then buzz them out. I just want to take the first initial brunt off with the breaker bar. You're gonna feel nice and swole, like you went to the gym when you get done with this. Oh, they tightened that one good. Not so much the rest of them, but this one, by God, it got the treatment. All right, so now all of them are broke free. So I'm gonna go grab my battery ratchet. I'm just gonna buzz all the nuts loose and then pull my washers off. And then your studs will have a 3/16 Allen hole in the top, and then we'll buzz them out the block. Don't be too surprised if they pull the stud out with it. It's pretty normal. These things didn't even make it to the point the lube wore off. I just want to make sure, go back through, get all my washers off here. Don't want to lose any of these. Because we don't know if we're reusing them or not yet. Another good thing to check that'll tell you right away without having to take these anywhere is if the threads look like they're all chewed up. ARP does recommend replacing them. Sure. 3/16 Allen. And buzz all these out. but that's not good. So that right there means that that was more than likely bottomed out in the block when they torqued these. So I left my my two 10 mil rocker bolts. I left them tight, or just, you know, break them loose, and then we'll take them the rest of the way loose now that all our head bolts are out. The reason I do that is because I don't want what'll happen is if you take these out and then start taking your studs loose, what'll happen is this will start pulling up off the load of the rocker arms, and it'll push off, and then it'll kind of load these, and it'll be hard to get out. So just leave those tight. Now I'll go ahead and fuzz them off. And now our rocker box will be free, and then we'll move on up to our top row cylinder head bolts. We can go ahead and we'll be broke free, and we're just gonna kind of shimmy this on out of here. Make sure it's not pulling any what the hell am I trying to say standpipe for? Make sure it's not pulling any push rods or valve bridges with it. I like to leave those with the head for the time being. And now we're just going to go over to the bench and set this down. There is a gasket underneath that rocker box. I believe these were leaking pretty good. Yeah, oh yeah. Yep. All right, so anyway. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to pull my push rods up and set them down. Just get them broke loose out of the lifter, and we're going to pull them up, and they're going to drain just like that. And now you can just start taking your valve bridges off, and just, I like to go in orientation of these. This doesn't really matter a whole lot how they go. They can be just however. But it's kind of my little way I do it. Okie dokie. And now we can pull our push rods up out of here. This is very important. Now we're going to be replacing these anyway, but these have got to have 6.4 push rods when you do this job. They don't even make 6-liter push rods anymore. They're just all 6.4s. So you need to go and buy you a set of 16 of these bad boys. They are different lengths, and what will happen is when you mill the heads and everything, you'll put way too much load on the lifter, and it can lead to lifter failure. So you need to go change these. These are a very important part of the job. I'd say based off the coppers already being wore off the top of it, these should be copper if they were replaced, especially only being 6 months since this job was done. We're going to go ahead and state that they were not changed, and we're going to go get us a new set. Now you can grab this with your hand and rock it side to side, and it'll come out. Can be a pain in the butt. Things out of the way, we're going to go ahead, and you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top row head bolts. They'll be 10 millimeters. I'll leave these tight till right now. And same thing, I like to just go ahead and work my way from the middle out. There it is. So now when I pull this head off, what I normally would like to do is I sit it on the tire so I can get repositioned. But I don't have a tire, so I'm just going to pick it up and go straight to the ground with it. So we can get these out. You can go ahead and pull these. You'll have dowel pins holding the cylinder head on. Just like that. Set them off to the side. This is heavy. You need to be careful. I don't want you to, all blowing your backs out or anything. But we're going to go ahead, get positioned here, and off she comes. All right, so now we can go ahead and get ready to clean all this up and everything. Usually what I see here is I think what happened on this job was both sides are brand new heads. So I think what may have happened is a lot of people don't know this. You can buy brand new heads, that's fine and everything. But a lot of people don't know is straight out of the box. I don't care where you get them from, they are warped. It may not be warped a lot, but they are not true. So I have seen Randy take brand new heads from Ford, some other places we're not going to name, pull them right out of the box and take 1 to 2 thousandths right out of the gate. So I think what happened is maybe whoever did this wasn't too didn't know about that maybe. So I think they just pulled the heads right out of the box, slapped them on, and they were probably warped and the head gaskets popped. And they'll never get a true seal like that, and you'll be doing the job again. So I don't care if you go get new heads, that's great. Just be smart and take them to the machine shop around you, let them check them, and if they need to be milled, let them mill them. I'm pretty sure that's probably what happened here. So we're going to go ahead and get these heads loaded up and get them off to Randy. All right, so real quick, I just have some pretty important notes I just want to add to this video specifically. First off, on our heads here, we're probably not going to be able to reuse them. They are ringed. What happens is once they're O-ringed, a lot of times it's pretty impossible for them to get right to be milled and then have the ring groove cut again. It's always kind of off, and what'll happen is you'll just run into problems. So unfortunately, these heads are going to be junk. But I think more than likely they're going to be junk anyway, because if we'll look back here on this cylinder right here, I think this is where our problem was at. You can see just all the rust and everything on this cylinder specifically. And our hole's got some coolant in it. So I think potentially our head might be cracked somewhere. I don't see any numbers or anything on this from these being from a decent company. So they're probably just some cheap Chinese castings. So we're probably going to be we're probably going to end up getting a set of new heads for it, which does suck because they are very expensive. That is something that you are going to have to be prepared for when you do this job. So if your heads are not O-ringed, and when I say O-ringed, I'm talking about this nice thin wire that you can see pressed into the head here. If they're not, go ahead and get them loaded up and take them to the machine shop. You're going to want them milled, checked for cracks, the whole 9 yards on that, and they'll let you know if they're good to be reused. And there is a spec on how much they can take off the head, so you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that they've not been milled before. I like to have Randy check that overall thickness, and if they've been milled too much, they're going to need a valve job. So just the machine shop will know all this stuff when you bring the heads to them. Another thing on head gaskets, it looks like we just used some cheaper ones. You can tell by the silicone lining that's on the head gasket is black there. I do not use any head gasket but Ford head gaskets. I cannot stress that enough. That's what I've had good luck with. Maybe that's why I've never had a comeback. Ford OEM head gaskets. And another very, very, very important part is your cylinder heads need to be O-ringed. You're going to have to tell the machine shop that. It is very expensive. I'm sorry, but it has got to be done. If you want to cheap out and not do it, that's your choice, but do not be surprised if they pop again. 90% of the ones that I have done, I think in my entire time in business, I maybe did 2 6-liter head gasket jobs that still had stock head bolts in them. Every other job that I did had been studded from a previous shop, and they popped again, and we're redoing it again. And almost every single one of those that I pulled apart did not have O-ringed heads. So I will give the place that did this the props that they did, try to get, a good seal. But what'll happen is that O-ring bites into the head gasket and gets a really, really good bite on the sealing surface of the head. And it's just better to do it and be done, do it the right way the first time, and not have to worry about it constantly. So that's something you're going to need to tell the machine shop. You want your cylinder heads O-ringed, checked, milled, the whole 9 yards, full job on them. If they're cracked, I recommend you get another set. There's some good companies. There's kind of some speculation on a couple different ones, so I'm not going to go into detail on companies to go and or avoid. I like to just maybe find me another set and take them down to the machine shop and have them go through them and check them. But I think Fleece Performance Freedom Racing Engines, I believe that they make them. They're not on the website, but I have seen a few before. Maybe give them a call. I would highly recommend them. Kill Devil Diesel does make some decent cylinder heads, but I do recommend you take them to the machine shop and have them checked when you buy them. I know they're brand new, but I mean, it's worth not having to worry about it, and they pop again. So there's a few good notes that we need to focus on when we're doing this. Another thing is on your dowel pin size. I do not, and I never have used step dowels that Ford makes. They might be okay, and that's fine. I don't know. I'm just kind of weird about that. I want to use the correct size dowel pin for the head. That's just me. So if you pull it apart and somebody's done it before, you might have one head that's 18 mil, and you might go to the other side and they got step dowels to 20 mil. So I like to just go back with the way the block is. If the block's 18 mil, I'll put 18 mil heads on it. If it's a 20 mil, I'll put 20 mil heads on it. This truck, it's kind of a, up in the air subject on the dowel pin sizes on years and stuff like that. But man, I've tore them apart, and I've had 06s with 18 mils, and this truck's an 05. It has 18 mil heads. So when I say 18 mil, I'm referring to my dowel pin size. And later models have 20 mil heads. So you can, if you're unsure when you pull your head off and everything like that, I like to just grab my calipers and mic it and see what size they are. I do like to replace those. You don't have to, just a pet peeve of mine. I'll go ahead and change them. Another thing is, while my heads are off, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to check my cam. I'm going to pull, you cannot pull, without pulling the engine, you cannot pull this rear lifter guide out because your branch tube's right there. So you would have to pull the rear cover off and pull the branch tube out the back. So if you were going to change your lifters, you're going to have to pull the engine and pull the rear cover and the high pressure pump and everything. But I will go ahead, shine my flashlight down the crack there, and you can see the cam right at the very top. And I just want to look and make sure that I don't have any lifters beginning to lock up and eat the cam. You'll notice that if you ever have like a slight chirp at idle, kind of sound like a belt chirp. But this truck did not have that, but I'm still going to, since I'm right here, I'm going to go ahead and pull the front guides out here. And they're just like a 10 mil bolt there. pull the guides out, and I'm going to pull the front 8 lifters out of both sides. And I'm just going to go through them and roll them around, check them. I have seen them kind of deteriorate, have chunks taken out of them. But take a look at your cam. Make sure your cam's not ate up or anything like that. If you notice any of the lifters being ate up or anything like that, check the lobe on the cam. If the cam has a groove in it, at that point, I would really just suggest you start looking for an engine. You can overhaul that one if you want to, but a lot of times it's cheaper to just go ahead and buy you a new engine, new remand, whatever you want to say. I think that's really the more important things that I wanted to touch on that and everything. Like I said, OEM head gaskets on this stuff. I am going to make a separate video on how I prep the block surface. Do not go and grab a cookie bit, like a little flap disc. I believe that's how these might have been done. You can kind of see where the cookie bit was eating it up. I do not do that. I actually have a very specific way that I go about prepping the block surface. So I'll make a separate video, its own video on that. That way you're not having to go through this entire video to find that section of it. But I believe we're going to start looking for some cylinder heads here, because these aren't going to do us any good now. And I think that's really all I've got to touch on the important stuff here. This is how I lay all my stuff out. This is just the one side, like I said. Just be kind of neat with your stuff. I have a little bit of OCD, so I like to lay everything out to the corresponding way that it came out. Injectors and everything. Glow plugs don't really matter. Neither do the injectors, but just how I go about it. Another thing I will tell you now is go ahead and check your nipple cups here. Make sure that they're nice and tight. If you grab them and they're just like, they're not stiff to move, and you can just grab them and they're just flopping around, go ahead and order you a set of the HHC or HCC, something like that. Nipple cups, replace those. You'll have to get a special tool to do that. But another thing is 6-4 push rods. This job is very important that you go forward and buy you a set of 16 6-4 Powerstroke push rods. They are a different length. They're shorter. So now when you go back and mill your heads and everything and put them back on, you'll be good to go and not have to worry about that. So I think that's where I'm probably going to wrap this portion of this series up. And the next video, I'll show prepping the surface of the block, and then we'll go into reassembly, the important parts to notice there and stuff like that. But that'll probably be our next video, is just going into detail on that, because there are still some more very important notes that we'll have to touch on. But yeah, and on your head studs, if your truck's already studded, I do recommend you call ARP, get the right length and everything and specs to make sure that they're not stretched. If they've been you never know if they've been reused if you've already bought a truck that's studded. Just get those checked, and if they're not good, go ahead and get you another set. They're not super expensive. They're about $400. And like I said, get your heads ringed. That way you're not having to redo this job. So that's where I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. I just can't thank you guys enough. I'm going to keep on trucking, making good videos for you, make some good content. And thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. So this part of the video is going to be more or less just for documentation purposes. But I've never had this one happen to me before, so it's kind of a new one on me. But my glow plugs on this side are stuck. So I think the 6-liter wants to identify as a Duramax or something. But it just ain't happening. I don't know if they're just stuck in the head or what the deal is here. But like our threads are completely out here. And it's almost like they're galled up or something. Like listen to the change in this one. Oh yeah, smoked. But the threads are completely out of the head. Not happening. I mean, just check this out, guys. Like, I'm prying like all my effort on this thing, and it just is not happening. Well, guys, I got one of them out. I don't even know what to really say about this. I don't know if it's mud or what it is, but heads are definitely junk. It's destroyed the threads for the glow plugs, and I still have 2 stuck. But I have no idea what this crap is. This whole glow plug hole is stuffed with this gunk. Almost like carbon, but it looks more like mud. I don't really have an answer for you guys on this one if you run into this. I got 2 that are still completely galled. I've destroyed this one trying to get it out. That ain't happening. But this one, I mean, the threads are all messed up in the hole, and I got 2 stuck glow plugs. So I don't know if y'all can see down in this hole, but holy hell, destroyed. And these are brand new heads. Look how new they are. Freeze plugs are still clean and everything. These just got put on. So if you run into this, maybe pull the cylinder head off and try and beat them out with a hammer if you can, but these heads are definitely junk. Well, guys, we've run into a little bit of some issues here on our passenger side. As you can see, we have some pretty bad issue going on with this head. You can see some, I'm not really sure what it is. I think it might be chunks of piston. Just kind of like a little bit of fine shavings and just carbon buildup. But definitely not good. I think, not really sure what's happened here. But on this side, we have if you look right here, you can see where the piston's all pitted up, and you can see where the valves have been smacking the piston, which I do see happen on some higher horsepower stuff. This one's just got all sorts of nasty stuff down in here, down the ringland. You can see the mark right there where the piston and the valve smacked each other. So not good. I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't know. That's from me trying to pull the glow plug out. So our head gasket is just all full of all these chunkies. Just not good. So I'm not really sure what we're gonna do here. Definitely not good. It looks like a crack right there. Oh yeah, that's a crack. Yeah, well, they're cracked anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But this is just kind of stuff that I want to show you. You know, we went into this video just tearing it straight down. So, you know, unfortunately, sometimes you run into stuff like this, guys. And sometimes when you do this job, you know, you can't be prepared for stuff like this. So just take it with a grain of salt. You know, you need to go into this with an open mind and be prepared for the worst if possible. And I know I already closed this video out, but I just want to say thanks again. Thanks for watching. I'm not sure what the state of our next video will be because I don't know where we're going to go from here. But check this one out, and I'll make a video on block surface and putting the cab back down as soon as I know something. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.